So what stands out to you about ways that Ramit Sethi and Noah Kagan, the way that they operate compared to other founders, other CEOs, other operators?
Yeah, that's such a great question because I think we can learn a lot by how the best do it, right? And I've been very fortunate, as you said back in 2013, to have worked with Ramit Sethi a little bit. Um, the role wasn't a long term role, and it wasn't something that I had direct exposure to him. So I saw a lot from the outside with
Hmm.
limited interactions on the inside. And then Noah, I've been very lucky to work with extensively for 7 years, so very very closely for a lot of that time. And there are two interesting things about it. One is they both approach leadership in different ways, in my experience, and building a business in different ways. But they've both built really successful businesses. And through Noah, I've been like very thankfully exposed to so many impressive people. Right, so he's very close with Neville Medora, who I've met a couple times, runs a very successful business. Tim Ferriss is someone who runs a very successful business, friends of Noah. Andrew Warner is
Mm.
another one who I've met up with a couple times as part of Noah's gatherings. And they all do things differently from my limited perception of some of them, but my extremely deep perception of Noah compared to Ramit at least. What I would say they share is they work really hard. I don't think there's really a way for someone to build a tech business without working really hard. Right. So when I look at Ramit, I think what stands out to me is he is extremely data driven and like unemotional about decisions. Like everything is a very pragmatic decision from my experience with him years ago, right? And with Noah, I think Noah blends more of like his personality,
Mm.
right? He brings more of his personality to business. So the beauty in that and seeing how these different founders operate is that we don't have to be like everyone else, right? So there are similarities, and I think working really hard is a great similarity between them. I think going after a business or building something that we're passionate about is another similarity. And I think really thinking about like a business strategically is a similarity. But there are just as many differences as similarities, and I think they show that beautifully.
I think that one of the dangers that people fall into with, like I was talking to a founder the other day who said, "Oh, Alex Hormozy said this, or someone said that, or Russell Brunson said this." Like, that's great.
Yeah.
That worked for them, but you're not them and they're not you. Like, you kind of need to sort of forge your
Right.
own path a little bit too. And I think there's a little bit of a danger in just trying to copy someone else as a founder
Hmm.
completely, because everyone has a different personality, everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. And I think it takes a little bit of courage to sort of go off on your own path. Having said that, there's no sense
Yeah.
in reinventing the wheel, is there? If there's this has worked for this person before, I'm in a very similar situation. Just try that as a starting point. I find, like, as a baseline, do something that someone else has already done before and it worked, and then
Yeah.
experiment from there, and then figure it out from there. You don't need to start from scratch.
Yeah. You're so right. And like, I once heard from one of my mentors that like everything in life is just a paradox, right? Everything is incredibly paradoxical. And the reason I mention that is in this case, I'm sure some people are listening and they're like, well, how can I be like them but not be like them at the same time? And I think that's really hard, right? And I think about it as a leader myself, where there are some leaders I really admire who I think have done like really exceptional work and are really impressive. And growing a business, I realize how hard it is. And I'm blown away by people who grow $100 million, $1 billion businesses, whatever. Like that level is just so impressive for what's required. And at the same time, it's like, how do I instill some behaviors or actions of healthy leadership that they represent while also interweaving my own personality?
Hmm.
And I think that's a paradoxical part of trying to find ourselves as leaders and find ourselves as business creators as well. So, not everyone has to create a really large, successful business. Some people want to, but maybe some of you as founders are like, well, I just want this to be a lifestyle business so I can live in Europe. Like, I just want to make $1 million a year and revenue needs to be like 2 to 3 million to kind of hit that $1 million take home per year. And that's it. I don't need to grow a $1 billion business.
Hmm.
And that's a beautiful realization that we can also incorporate our wants
Hmm.
and our preferences, and that the business ultimately is not meant to be another job.
Hmm.
It's meant to be a creation of like a conduit of the lifestyle we want to live in many ways.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. I think when I was a kid, call it the tech crunch effect or whatever, but everyone wanted to
Yeah.
go and raise a ton of money, build this amazing billion-dollar company, and go off and be, Elon Musk. The older I get, the less appealing that is to me. But I do have friends, and they're like, you know what? It doesn't like a $1 million business doesn't excite me. Like I'm either
Yeah.
swinging for
Yeah.
the fences or nothing at all. And so there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It just means that the kind of business model that you want to pick needs to be a good business for you, a good business
Yep.
model for you. It means that the kind of the approach to growth needs to be a little bit different. If you want to swing for the fences, you're probably going to need a lot of money. If you need a lot of money, you need to learn how to raise it. You need to go and make friends with lots of investors so you can go and do that stuff. But the older I get, like having something that sits on the side and spits off a few $1 million a year, and I can go and just chill out on a beach somewhere. That sounds wonderful. So,
Right. Yeah, I get that.
hey, it's Ryan here. If you liked that video, please click the like and subscribe button somewhere down there and check out the full interview right over here. Go on, click it. You know you want to.